A very good afternoon to all of you. Hello, everyone. Hi, I'm Sukanya for those who are joining us for the very first time. And we are finally here for the Hindu editorial analysis. We are going to see it from the English point of view today. So, obviously, I hope you guys are all geared up. And good afternoon, Neelam. Hi, Vaishnavi. How are you? Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. I hope I'm perfectly visible as well as audible. Hi, Avi. How are you? I'm so glad that I get to see like some of you on a regular. So now I have kind of, started to remember your names too. Good afternoon, Vedansh. Vaishnavi is same old. So the last time around we talked, I told you about how I'm under the weather. It's still and like it's still going on. I don't know when it's going to completely get out of my system. But yeah, I hope you guys are ready for today. And the last time around, if you remember, we also discussed the different tones. So today also we are going to keep that in mind, and we are going to discuss the different tones of different editorial passages. Okay, so let's start with the class. I hope you can see my screen. अच्छा एक और चीज if you think that you haven't understood a particular thing please let me know in the chat box. I'll try to clear your doubts then and there. ठीक है. Hi Drishti, how are you? So, yes, let's start with the first word of the day, first high frequency word of the day. By the way, today also I found one foreign phrase in one of the editorials. If you remember the last time around, we have discussed two foreign phrases. Does anybody remember the two? Okay, so the first word, conjuring, I think most of you might have watched the horror movie Conjuring. And if you have watched it, then you might also know the meaning of conjuring. It's a noun, by the way. Don't get fooled by ing, which is given there, because sometimes ing also behaves like a noun, like we have seen in gerunds, right? तो यहाँ पे भी conjuring जो first word है वो है एक noun, and it basically implies something magical, uh, something that gives you a feeling of illusion or deception. ठीक है? So when you conjure up something, that means you are basically magically bringing it into existence, or basically very good Vaishnavi, inter alia and prima facie. बिल्कुल सही, you remember those two words. Lovely. So, the usage of this particular word is his old-fashioned conjuring tricks are brilliant. Again, conjuring का मतलब होता है basically create magic or an illusion or a deception. Deception का भी मतलब वही होता है sleight of hand. You must have already heard of this phrase. Generally, magicians are famous for sleight of hands, right? No, aneurysm was not really the foreign phrase. It was inter alia and prima facie. Okay, so let's try to use conjuring in another one of our examples. So you can also come up with your own set of examples here. Okay, I hope you can understand this. The singer's voice conjured even the dead. What does that mean? That means it has magically, made the dead people also alive. So it was that magical. Okay, I'm waiting for your examples. Moving on to the second one. Second word is unprecedented, and this is a very common word. Unprecedented का मतलब होता है something which has never been done before, which has never been known before, and it's an adjective, as you can clearly see. And for example, the team won by an unprecedented score. Okay, that means never been seen before. The team has enjoyed unprecedented success this year. That means ऐसा success जो पहले कभी नहीं मिला हो. Okay. Prima facie, the magician's tricks were quite conjuring, but they were. I did not understand the second word, the last word, Vaishnavi. Is it reiterating? Okay. The unprecedented. failure of the opposition team made them take back their verdict. Okay? Yes. So moving forward, unprecedented का मतलब होता है something that you have never seen before. Okay? So whatever is unprecedented for you, you can use it in an example. The only way he was able to recognize him was when a conjuring trick was found in one of his trouser pockets. Okay. The next one is precincts. And generally, if you have read stories based on kings and queens, there this word is very frequently seen, precincts. It basically means the boundaries or confines. And I think everybody knows that generally the people who come from wealthy, affluent families, उनका जो घर होता है वो बहुत ही बड़ा होता है. ठीक है, सो उनके घरों में बाउंड्रीज ही जो होती है वो ही बहुत दूर होती है, तो दैट इज एक्चुअली नोन एज precincts. For example, this land is a part of the precincts of the palace. As you can see, palace is huge, palace is expansive, and obviously the boundaries will include, most of the land around that place. Another one, the kid wasn't allowed to run in the precincts of the mansion. The story of her life she shared was unprecedented for the mango people to digest. I think you really love the mango people, Avi. I do remember that the last time around also you've used that. Catharsis. By the way, catharsis is a term from literature. And I don't know whether you guys have read famous Shakespearean works like Romeo Juliet or The Midsummer Night's Children, or have I like combined two titles? I don't really remember. Okay, let's consider Hamlet or some other Othello probably. So in every Shakespearean work, you might have seen that the characters always go through this process of catharsis. And catharsis का मतलब होता है the process of releasing and thereby providing relief from strong repressed emotions. ऐसा होता है ना sometimes that we are bottling up our emotions for a really long time, and then something really heart wrenching happens in front of you, and then all your emotions are out in the open, right? तो हम बहुत कोशिश करते हैं उन emotions को छुपाने की and to not reveal it in front of others, but then one small thing triggers us and basically we just blurt out everything that we feel. King Lear, Merchant of Venice, The Three Witches. Yes, exactly. So coming back, I think well, from the title that I used, I think I kind of combined Salman Rushdie and Shakespeare's titles together. My bad. Okay, coming back to this, तो catharsis का मतलब यही होता है कि जब आपके जो emotions होते हैं, you kind of get that relief from your strong repressed emotions. Exactly. Shylock at the end of the play has been convicted by catharsis. Bilkul sahi. So as you can see, music is a means of catharsis for them. What does that mean? Every time somebody listens to music, music has that very unique quality of bringing forth all your emotions, and that's exactly what catharsis is all about. हम generally तुम लोगों ने देखा होगा कि whenever a person's heart gets broken, they generally listen to sad songs. I don't know why, because that makes them feel even more sad. But yeah, that's what the unique tendency of music is. It brings forth all your emotions to surface, and that's exactly what it means here. Okay, uh, the hero's catharsis in the movie made the audience teary-eyed. So even the audience felt with the hero, and they also got tears in their eyes. Music brings out the catharsis in the heart. Yeah, you can say that. Anything else? I think reading a really good book also can be a reason for your catharsis. Similarly, watching a really powerful documentary, or maybe having a conversation with your best friend. That can also be the reason for catharsis. So there are too many examples around us, right? Also, it's a noun, as you can clearly see. Moving to the next one, fissures. By the way, fissures is also a medical condition, but obviously here we are not really going to use fissures as a medical condition. We are basically going to use it as a way of a separation or disagreement among among parties or between two parties. या generally हमारी जो थोड़ी सी आप बोल सकते हो disagreement हो जाता है किसी से. It's basically that. Okay. The eulogy was a means of catharsis for the hoi polloi, making a palpable emotional environment. Yes, generally eulogies do tend, to make people very, very emotional, and exactly that's a way of catharsis. Absolutely lovely, Vaishnavi. So, fissures का मतलब क्या हुआ? A separation or disagreement in thoughts or viewpoint. Fissures का मतलब एक medical condition भी होता है. I'm just telling you so that you know about it. And moving forward, the way it has been used in one of the editorials, that's how I tried to use it in one of the examples also. The move was controversial given the deep fissures, given the deep disagreements in the Eurozone. Okay, viewing our old photos also becomes a means of catharsis. Exactly, Drishti. Absolutely right. Okay. The fissures between the two teams were irreparable. Okay. Hi, Ankit. How are you? I think you've joined us just now. We have already discussed the first slide almost. So you can watch this part later on whenever you get time. Okay. So you can use fissures as a disagreement. For example, generally we have disagreements with our, siblings, with our friends, or sometimes even with somebody we do not see eye to eye, right? कभी कभी हमारे व्यूज सामने वाले के व्यूज से हमेशा ही अलग होते हैं, तो दैट्स ऑल्सो अ रीजन ऑफ फिशर्स between your relationship, right? So moving forward, albeit the fissures between them, their cohesive bond is conjuring. Wow, you have used like three examples. Lovely. Let's see the next one. So I told you about a foreign phrase, and today's foreign phrase is ad nauseum. And I think you must have heard the word nauseating, right? When something is disgusting, something smells terribly bad, that's also nauseating. Something that's disgusting is also nauseating. But here we are talking about ad nauseum in the sense that when something has been repeated so many times that now it has become annoying. कोई चीज जो बार बार बोली जाए, who would like it? For example, somebody is nagging you to do something again and again and again, although you must have already planned it in some part of your day, but कोई आपको बार बार याद दिला रहा है उसी चीज को. So now it has become so annoying or tiresome that probably you will not do that work, right? So, one more example from Drishti. I managed to get the demons out and repair the fissure. Okay, that's kind of deep. So, ad nauseum का मतलब होता है something which gets repeated till infinity, and it becomes tiresome and it becomes annoying, right? Let's see the usage. I have been bored ad nauseum by his speeches. That means his speeches basically talk about the same thing again and again. ठीक है? One more thing, one more example. Let's see that. let's use it here. The ad nauseum monologue made me leave the play. The fissures between the central government and the farmers today has brought out the controversial move in Delhi. And yes, Ankit, it's related to agitation or irritation क्योंकि बार बार कोई भी चीज कोई बोलेगा तो अच्छा तो नहीं लगेगा, right? So yes, it comes from repeating the same thing over and over again. And then the next one is rigging. When I say that the results were rigged, for example, you're watching a reality show, okay? And you already know that who should be the deserving, who is the deserving candidate and who should eventually end up winning the award. But the thing is, कोई और ही जीत जाता है वो award. Then the first statement that you make is the awards are rigged. What does that mean? It means that you have arranged dishonestly for the result of something. That means वो जो results हैं उनके साथ manipulation हुआ है. जिसको जीतना चाहिए था वो जीता नहीं, कोई दूसरा ही जीत गया. इसका मतलब क्या हुआ कि obviously या तो वो awards बिके हुए हैं, somebody has already like paid money for it, or intentionally they have not let somebody win. So that's the meaning of rigging, and this word is generally used when we talk about elections. तो आपने देखा होगा कि elections के votes भी जो होते हैं ना वो many a time they are rigged. The officers were accused on charges of vote rigging. Okay, exactly. Manipulated or controlled by deceptive or dishonest means. Exactly. Election manifestos become ad nauseum at times. Absolutely right. And the fissures between the. Acha, yeah, I have already read that. Teachers' lectures, albeit good, sometimes become ad nauseum for children. I think that has happened with all of us, right, Avi? So, yes. रिगिंग का मतलब क्या होता है? मैनिपुलेट करना किसी चीज को, वोट्स को जनरली या अवार्ड्स को, as you can clearly see. Linchpins. Now, I don't know how many of you already know about linchpins, but linchpins, you can even call dons as linchpins of mafia, right? So, linchpins is a noun, and it actually talks about a person who plays the head or the vital role in an enterprise or an organization. Like, let's talk about how many of you have heard his name before? Lana Del Rey should have rigged the Grammy because being good gets you nowhere. Oh, Aryan, I totally agree. Lana is a very talented, gifted singer. And as you can see, Daud Ibrahim, considered as one of the most dangerous dons to ever live, and he is one of the linchpins of the underworld. तो आप सभी को पता ही होना चाहिए कौन है दाऊद इब्राहिम. He is the linchpin of the team. That means he is the most essential part of the team. For example, even in a cricket team or a football team, there is the star player. You can call that person a linchpin. In Indonesia, the military accused the ruling party of rigging, which resulted in military coup. Very good example, Drishti. Yes. So as you can see, manipulation of voters led to rigging of votes. बिल्कुल ये तो बहुत ही common occurrence है, I think. ठीक है, rigging of votes ये बहुत ही commonly होता है, हर elections में probably होता है. ठीक है, and Atiq Ahmed is one of the linchpin of the underworld. Okay, I have never heard of Atiq Ahmed though, although I will read about it now. So, we have already discussed the two difficult words in the title of the article that we are going to discuss today. Conjuring a catharsis. Conjuring, that means by magically making it appear. And what exactly are we trying to make appear here? Is basically the catharsis. Catharsis का मतलब है the emotions which are evoked. When you suppress your emotions for a long period of time, then they're suddenly out. It's basically about that. On the government's white paper on the economy. See, the thing is, I'm going to explain this passage to you in very simple words. Okay? Also, I have highlighted some important things here. So, wait a second. I think, like, because of my bad throat, I'm not able to speak. Yeah, are we ready? So, how many of you have already read this article? Anyone? No? Chalo, let's try to understand it like this. Imagine there are two groups of people, okay? And I'm talking about the two political parties. Let's put it that way. And both the political parties at some point had the charge of ruling the country, of running the country. Okay, and what are these two political parties that I'm talking about in this reference? Can anybody quickly tell me in the chat box? हम किसके बारे में बात कर रहे हैं? Sarah, being a linchpin and teacher's pet, rejigged the finals by getting extra marks. Very good. हम कौन सी दो पॉलिटिकल पार्टीज के बारे में बात कर रहे हैं? वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट ऑब्वियसली बीजेपी एंड कांग्रेस इन दिस रेफरेंस. हाँ, तो यहाँ पे ये दोनों ही पार्टीज हैं. एज आई हैव ऑलरेडी टोल्ड यू, लेट्स ट्राई टू अंडरस्टैंड दिस वे दैट बोथ ऑफ देम हैड एट सम पॉइंट, आप बोल सकते हो दोनों ने ही बागडोर संभाली थी टू रन द कंट्री, एंड दे शुड हैव बिहेव्ड लाइक अ बिग टीम. ठीक है, and let's try to consider that the linchpin of one of the teams was Manmohan Singh. Which team am I talking about? Which political party am I talking about? Obviously, Congress. And he was in charge for a long period of time, 2004 to 2014. 10 साल के लिए वो ही थे head. ठीक है, and the other group, it was led by Narendra Modi. You already know which political party I'm talking about. It's the BJP, right? अब देखो, जो first group है, which was led by Manmohan Singh, it's actually being accused by the second group. फर्स्ट ग्रुप को सेकेंड ग्रुप अक्यूज कर रहा है, और अक्यूज किस चीज के लिए कर रहा है? बिकॉज दे हैव नॉट डन देयर जॉब वेल अकॉर्डिंग टू नरेंद्र मोदी. ठीक है, so Narendra Modi basically accused Manmohan Singh that when you were in charge, you were not really taking your responsibility seriously. You did not do much for the country. Okay, also उन्होंने ये भी कहा कि it's because of you that the country is in a bad shape and basically we picked up all your pieces. ठीक है, they also listed few other reasons that बहुत सारे scandals हुए तुम्हारे टाइम पे, बहुत सारा mismanagement हुआ. तो this was about Narendra Modi accusing Manmohan Singh's political party. ठीक है, but then you already know that Narendra Modi also got the chance to become the leader. ठीक है, अब यहाँ पे भी सेम वही चीज होती है, बिकॉज ऑफ disagreements और ऑल्सो नोन एज फिशर्स बिटवीन द टू पार्टीज. तो अब सेकंड जो फर्स्ट पार्टी है मनमोहन सिंह की, उन्होंने भी यही सेम चीज है अक्यूज करना शुरू कर दी to Narendra Modi's party, that you guys are not doing your job well and you have created a lot of mismanagement and you have brought forth demonetization. तुम्हारी वजह से the businesses are not flourishing. तो इन लोगों ने भी accuse करना शुरू कर दिया. ठीक है, now the thing is both the groups are trying to kind of pin it against the other party that you are not doing. blame बोल सकते हैं हम, एक दूसरे को blame करने में लगे हुए हैं. And they are also trying to convince people simultaneously that I am the better party, you should vote me. ठीक है, especially the young people. Also lots and lots of facts, evidences. अगर तुम लोग ये पूरा article पढ़ोगे तो you will get to know that lots and lots of facts, evidences and even justification has been provided in this particular passage just to prove their point. ठीक है, अब यहाँ पे एक चीज हमें ये समझना है. So the conclusion of this particular article is pretty simple, and that is what would have happened if both of these parties cooperated with each other and collaborated and worked towards the shared goal of making this country a progressive one, a developed one. तो automatically results जो होते वो बहुत जल्दी मिल जाते. और secondly, there wouldn't have been an occasion where you would have blamed the other one because both of them were doing it together as a joint party, right? But ऐसा तो हुआ ही नहीं. So that's exactly what is given here. So in the first paragraph, you get to know how Modi is accusing Manmohan Singh. In the next few paragraphs, you get to know how Manmohan Singh's party is accusing Modi. But instead, in the passage, it's given that why not work together as a team, as a joint effort, and do something, mutually important for the entire country. So that's pretty much the summary of the story. And you can see the difficult words here. अगर यहाँ पे कुछ नहीं समझ में आया हो तो मुझे बता दो। अंकित क्या बोलना, हाँ एग्जैक्टली ये सोल्यूशन है, यही सोल्यूशन है। देखो लास्ट में अगर तुम पढ़ोगे, रुक जाओ मैं बताती हूँ। Where exactly is it? Wait. The paper seems to be an attempt to temper voters' higher expectations from a government with a majority mandate, but the pointed finger leads to three pointing right back. What does that mean? Obviously, when I point finger at you, that you are the one to be blamed. I'm pointing the other three fingers at me. That means I am also the one to be blamed. Even I am not doing my job the right way. So that's exactly what is being given here. Soham, generally, linchpins is not really used as a positive term. So I would say कि 70% of the times linchpins is used in a negative way. But in the passages that I have read today, and इसीलिए वहां पे तो positively use किया गया था. That's the reason I took a positive example also. ठीक है? Yeah, depending upon the context, Ankit. Yes, you can say that. So a reconciliation between the two parties is definitely needed. Absolutely right, Avi. So that's exactly the course of action that the writer has suggested to both the parties. तुम उसको क्यों blame कर रहे हो? तुम उसको क्यों blame कर रहे हो? साथ में काम कर लो ना. So it's basically that. ठीक है? So also I have highlighted a few words here which are very important. Like botching. Botching of the economy. What does that mean? When you botch, for example, जब हम छोटे थे, so whenever our mothers generally used to tell us not to erase, you know, with a hard hand. Otherwise, the paper is going to tear up, right? तो तुम लोगों को याद होगा कि हम जब बहुत तेजी से किसी चीज को मिटाते हैं, या for example, when I write something over and over, for example, I've written this, and if I want to cut it, this is also known as botching. Okay, so here we are talking about botching the economy. That means we are somehow, ruining it. तो तो सबको लड़ाएंगे कैसे, ये बिल्कुल सही है जानवी. एट द एंड कोई इस बात को बांटने थोड़ी ना वाला है. दिस इज जस्ट अ सजेशन, राइट? Carry out a task badly or carelessly basically means botching. Okay, when you do a task really badly, that means you're botching it, you're ruining it. In simple words, Ankit, the thing is, conclusion is based on all the inferences which are made by the writer. So आपने पूरा passage पढ़ा, you have picked up on the hints, and you have basically come to a conclusion by using those hints. That is conclusion. ठीक है? So botching का मतलब होता है to carry out badly a task और carelessly. कोई भी चीज carelessly करोगी तो वो अच्छे से तो नहीं होगी. For example, you have cooked something but you have messed up the entire kitchen. That means you have botched the kitchen. What does that mean? You have done the task very badly. That is botching. ठीक है? The next word is posterity. Posterity is generally really, if you remember, we talked about posthumous, but posthumous is a little different. Whenever an award is given posthumously, that means somebody has already died. ठीक है? But here, for posterity का मतलब होता है for future generations. Suppose you are preserving something for posterity. Okay? That is for future or succeeding or coming generations. Hi, Khalida. I think, Khalida, you are a little late today. We've almost like discussed everything. Chalo, the next word is belies. And I'm not talking about bellies here, I'm talking about belies. Comes from the word belie. And it basically means, as you can clearly see, B and LIE. That means झूठ से related कुछ है. So obviously, something which fails to give a true impression of something. That means something that looks like a false version. Okay. Yes, the future and the people who are alive, exactly. दृष्टि. सो पोस्टेरिटी का मतलब होता है कोई भी चीज जो फ्यूचर के लिए सेव की जाए. एंड बिलाइज का मतलब होता है समथिंग विच लुक्स लाइक अ फॉल्स इम्प्रेशन और अ फॉल्स वर्जन ऑफ समथिंग, समथिंग विच फेल्स टू गिव यू द ट्रू इम्प्रेशन ऑफ समथिंग. ठीक है? Nuances. You need to pay attention to the nuances. What does that mean? You need to pay attention to the fine distinction, to the intricate details. Intricate, minute details. When people do not generally pay attention to minute details, they kind of miss out on important chunks of information. You might have noticed that whenever you solve mocks, or अगर आप कोई भी बहुत important सी detail miss कर देते हो, if you miss out on a nuance, then what happens? Your answer gets wrong. That's why it's very, very important to pay attention on the nuances of a speech, of a passage, of anything that you're reading, right? Exactly, Vaishnavi, the granular information, the tiniest pieces, bits and pieces of information that you can find. And the next one is conciliant. Conciliant का मतलब होता है showing agreement. अभी हमने disagreement के बारे में पढ़ा था. What was that word? न्यूसेंस अलग होता है. न्यूसेंस का मतलब होता है somebody that's something that's problematic or troublesome. That's a nuisance. For example, generally आपने देखा होगा कि when you're trying to study and somebody is trying to, again and again come and disturb you, that's a nuisance for you. So we saw the opposite of this word today. The opposite or the antonym of this word is fissures, showing disagreement. राइट, और वहीं पे ही उसका ऑपोजिट होता है कंसीलियंट, which means to show agreement or similarity of ideas. Thank God you remember. So the next one is backtrack. Whenever you backtrack, that means you are retracing one's course. Suppose when you backtrack your words, that means you basically regret it. Okay, and you are trying to take back the words that you have said. So I backtracked our entire conversation. That means I retraced, I went back to our old conversation and realized that I was the one who was wrong. That's how you can use it. The enemy backtracked all the past whereabouts of the protagonist. इसका मतलब है all the information related to the protagonist was retraced back by the enemy, right? Yes, backtracking, rapprochement. Approachment is a little different though. Begot, begot का मतलब होता है be and got. यहाँ पे आज हमने दो words सीखे which have the same prefix be. ठीक है, just remember it through got or getting something. Okay, like causing or bring about. ठीक है, what begot the end product was his utter humiliation. ठीक है, और the reason he begot the issue was he wanted a clear answer. So that means to bring about something or to cause something. I backtrack sharing too much. I think, Drishti, whenever we overshare, that's exactly what happens. We kind of keep on going back to that conversation कि मैंने कुछ गलत तो नहीं कह दिया, right? That has happened to most of us. So now, wait a second. Coming back to the main idea of the passage. Main idea क्या था? Can anybody quickly sum it up? Blaming the other. for the greater good of the country. Instead, one should focus on what? Exactly. The blame game is not going to take us anywhere. On collaboration and and unified and a unified approach. हमें किस चीज पे फोकस करना चाहिए? कोलैबोरेशन पे। हमें यूनिफिकेशन पे कोशिश करनी चाहिए कि somehow we work together as a team jointly. So that's the main idea. What did you think was the tone of this passage? Exactly. That's I think Vedans, that's what all the political parties generally do, because उनको लगता है कि जितना ज्यादा हम सामने वाले पे ब्लेम करेंगे उनके चांसेस उतने ज्यादा सॉलिड होते जाते हैं जीतने के, right? The ruling and opposition parties kept blaming each other for the votes, but no one sees as their own fault. Okay, fissures between the two major political parties should be dissolved, and collaboration should be the main approach. Exactly. Very good. And the tone was argumentative, suggestive. That's what most people are agreeing with. What do you think? Should that be the answer? Yes? No? देखो आर्ग्यूमेंट तो था, बिकॉज दोनों ही पार्टीज कहीं ना कहीं अपने अपने आर्ग्यूमेंट्स प्रेजेंट तो कर ही रही थी, तो आई थिंक दैट्स वेरी मच क्लियर आफ्टर रीडिंग द पैसेज. एंड इन द एंड ही हैज आल्सो गिवन अ सजेशन, right? So suggestive भी हो सकता है, obviously. So there was, I would say, an advisory note attached to it. Argumentative till the first few paragraphs, and in the end, it was uh, advisory. ठीक है? Yes. So now, moving on to the next one. Wait. I think you guys must have read this article, Pakistan's Democratic Revolution with Seam and Swing. By the way, with Seam and Swing का मतलब बहुत simple सा होता है. It's actually a bowling style with seam and swinging. And why we are talking about a bowling style here? Because यहाँ पे इमरान खान की बात होती है, who was a former cricketer. So I think most of you already know about it. ठीक है? So यहाँ पे what exactly was the tone of this passage? By the way, how many of you know the meanings of all of these words that I have written? Let me just give you a brief idea about this particular article. तो यहाँ पे हम बात करते हैं कि बहुत ही कॉम्प्लेक्स पॉलिटिकल सिचुएशन चल रही है अभी पाकिस्तान में, है ना, फॉलोइंग द जनरल इलेक्शंस एंड ओवरऑल ये जो आप बोल सकते हो, वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट द अनसर्टेनिटी विच सराउंड्स द फ्यूचर डायरेक्शन ऑफ पाकिस्तानी गवर्नेंस. That's what is going on in this particular passage. So we are talking about the uncertainty, we are talking about the complex political situation, the instability, and basically the writer is just wondering as to what is going to happen in Pakistan in future. So what do you think should be the answer here? And if you do not know the meanings of these tones, let me just give you. Okay, I've already mentioned the answer. By the way, the answer is analytical. The writer actually talks about the pros and cons. He also evaluates information. Now, when I talk about acerbic का मतलब होता है using harsh language intended to hurt other people. I think it has happened with most of us when we have arguments with our parents, and then as soon as we have spoken something really bad, we kind of regret it, isn't it? ऐसा हुआ है? We use harsh language क्योंकि in the spur of the moment we are really really angry. उस समय पे हम गुस्से में होते हैं, हम कुछ भी बुरा बोल देते हैं. बट फिर हमें रियलाइज होता है, ओ दैट वाज माय मिस्टेक एंड आई शुडंट हैव यूज्ड सच हार्श लैंग्वेज विथ मॉम or with dad or with anybody who's like near to you, right? So that's acerbic. Moving on to satire. Satire का मतलब होता है कि देखो याद रखना कि satire is generally pointed at people. It's basically a funny way of bringing forth the important problems. ठीक है? जैसे कि आप समझ सकते हो, फॉर एग्जाम्पल अगर किसी ने बस्सी की कॉमेडी सुनी हो, स्टैंड अप कॉमेडी, या वीर दास की कॉमेडी सुनी हो, तो दे आर जनरली पीपल हु आर नोन फॉर देयर फेमस सटायर्स. सो pointed at important people who hold important positions, but are corrupt. तो लोगों को कैसे बताया जाए कि ये इतनी बड़ी प्रॉब्लम है? यू आर गोइंग टू यूज ह्यूमर टू बेसिकली ब्रिंग फोर्थ द प्रॉब्लम. ठीक है? आप लोगों ने देखा होगा कि इन न्यूज़पेपर्स यू हैव कैरिकेचर्स, कार्टून्स रहते हैं, देखा है कि नहीं? कार्टून्स के फॉर्मेट में सटायर किया जाता है. नवाज शरीफ पार्टी इज क्वाइट कॉन्डिसेंडिंग अगेंस्ट द पीटीआई. यस आर्यन, वेरी गुड. एंड कॉन्डिसेंडिंग का मतलब होता है टू थिंक ऑफ वन सेल्फ एज सुपीरियर एंड अदर्स एज इंफीरियर. सो आप किसी ना किसी को तो मिले ही होंगे जो बहुत ही एरोगेंट, फुल ऑफ प्राइड, and they behave as if they kind of own the entire world. So such people's tone is considered condescending. Okay, whenever they talk, it feels like वो आपको insult कर रहे हैं. ऐसा लगता है कि बस वो अपने ही बारे में सोचते हैं, right? So that is known as the condescending tone. And the first answer we have already discussed, analytical. Catharsis is a little different. Catharsis is basically purging out emotions, which is different. Okay, let's talk about the next one, a privileged strategic partnership without a gulf. Okay, now the thing is, when I talk about nitpicking का मतलब होता है finding faults. It's basically a subcategory of critical. But इस particular passage पे the writer was actually not being critical. If you have already read it, I don't know whether you have. तो यहाँ पे हम देखते हैं कि the writer is actually full of recognition, appreciation. He's also highlighting all the important achievements, all the positive developments, between the relationship that India and UAE shares. And we are also talking about the joint efforts, cooperation of the two nations across various sectors. तो हम अच्छी अच्छी बातें कर रहे हैं, ठीक है? The tone actually reflects mutual respect. It reflects understanding. ये सारी चीजें हमें सामने आती है. तो what can we consider as the tone of this particular passage? Any answers? Laudatory. Laudatory तो है, but यहाँ पे option में ही नहीं है, फिर क्या करें? The answer is deference. Deference means when you show respect, acknowledge the other. The answer is B. Okay? Expository, no, it's not expository. मैंने क्या बोला? ये सिर्फ simply informational था क्या? नहीं. They were full of praise. They were constantly talking about the joint efforts, the cooperation, कि कितनी अच्छी understanding है दोनों ही countries में. So not expository. Objective, neutral. If you are singing praises, how can you be neutral? You can't be. Right? And the last one for the day, parliamentary affairs. I have already shown you the answer though. On the last session of the 17th Lok Sabha. देखो, यहाँ पे basically बात होती है Overall, it's basically talking about this concern that they have about the state of parliamentary democracy, and also how there is this balance of power between the government and the opposition. There's always this imbalance, ठीक है, generally. So the writer is actually evaluating situations. He's also evaluating problems. तो जब हम किसी चीज को evaluate या analyze करते हैं, so it's more towards reflective, right? That should be the answer. But let's also talk about argumentative. Okay, Ankit, in descriptive, the writer uses lots and lots of literary devices. What is the meaning of literary devices? आप लोगों ने simile, metaphor ये सब पढ़ा होगा. Also, adjectives to describe, because descriptive adjectives are also known as describing words. And generally, the description is about one single topic. It can be a person, place, animal, thing, whatever. ठीक है? Whereas अगर हम बात करते हैं, if I talk about expository, the information is given related to something which is more fact based. Okay? Yes. So the answer to this was reflective. Instigating, what does that mean? Instigating means making remarks that cause a rebellion, जिसकी वजह से लोग गुस्से में आ जाए और रिबेल करने लग जाए. That's known as instigating somebody. Argumentative, when you just provide your argument, okay, but you are not being forceful about it. That's argumentative. Yes, instigating can also be considered as provocative. Exactly. And exuberant, does anybody know the meaning of exuberant? It's a very happy word, by the way. So when you are feeling exuberant, you are full of energy and enthusiasm. आप खुश होते हो किसी चीज पे, you are chirpy about it, full of enthusiasm and energy. That's when you are exuberant. And this brings me to the end of today's class. So I hope everything is clear. अगर कुछ नहीं समझ में आया हो तो please ask. And yeah, that's about it. Yes, when you're extremely happy. That's also exuberant, right? So, yeah, thank you so much for your time. That's it from my side. Please just revise these words while you're going through the articles yourself, and have a great day. Bye bye. Thank you so much.